In 2022, I will continue to average into Rolls-Royce, and in this video, I'm going to explain exactly why. Let's go. It's been a rocky couple of years for Rolls-Royce, and with global air travel almost grinding to a halt, the firm's main revenue streams have been hit hard. In 2020, the company was forced to increase its borrowing just to keep things ticking over. They sold a number of more non-profitable arms of the business to raise more capital and were forced to lay off nearly 9,000 members of staff. This cash is being used to pay down debt and stabilize the business. There has, however, been some put aside for another reason, and we'll come on to that shortly. For any business in the world, those facts alone would cause some serious concern to investors. If you look at the 5-year view of the share price, it does not paint a pretty picture. Share price maxed out around 2018, and things were all looking pretty rosy at that point. The stock has since dropped as low as 40 pence in October 2020, so if you invested at the top, you'd have felt that. Currently trading at 115 pence today and has actually seen a 25% increase in the last 6 months. Year-end results are out next month, and I think a lot of investors are actually waiting to see what's in that report before deciding what to do next. But none of that really matters, because all that we care about is what is this business going to do in the future. And I've got a few things that make me extremely bullish on this business over the next few years. So here's my holding, and I am absolutely no JD Rockefeller, but this does make up the proportion of the speculative arm within my portfolio. And it's an allocation that I am completely comfortable with, given that this is a somewhat speculative business and there is some risk bought into this business. There's no question about that. I'm averaged in then at 105 pence per share, so that represents a 10% unrealized gain, but I've absolutely no intention of selling. Quite the opposite. I in fact bought more last week, and I am intending on doing exactly the same over the course of 2022, and here is why. This is a business that you need to have a look at the big picture on. You need to zoom out a little bit and explore what the enormous potential of this business has. First off, this business has an extremely large moat and is very, very sticky. It's one of the most sticky businesses within my portfolio. By sticky, in case you don't know, sticky businesses are businesses that are hard to get out of. So for example, you do a contract with a business that's going to last 10 years, you're bought into that business for the long term, you're stuck to it. And the contracts that they've got are unreal. They're going to be supplying the US Air Force with engines for their B-52s for the next 30 years. 30 years worth of business. Do you think that the US Army are going to get into a contract for 30 years on a whim without having a feeling that this business is going to be doing well? On top of this, Rolls-Royce has got customers in 150 countries. There's only 195 countries in the world, so they've got business in 75% of the globe's countries. They supply 400 airlines, 160 armed forces, 70 navies, and more than 5,000 power and nuclear customers. And in many cases, the contracts that are in place for decades, not years, decades. They also have maintenance and support contracts built in alongside. So not only do they supply the engines, they maintain them. Again, this is for decades. I'm going to keep saying it. But that's just the bread and butter of the business. That's just the day-to-day operations. And if that wasn't enough, they are also spending a fortune of the cash that we talked about earlier into innovation and R&D. And there's 3 things that I'm really excited about over the coming year. First one being electric-powered flight. They recently set an airspeed record with their Spirit of Innovation aeroplane. And before you pile into the comments, I know that there's significant issues in terms of battery life. I know there's significant issues in terms of range. This is the beginning of a journey. As far as I'm concerned, this is absolutely revolutionary, and it's gone under the radar a little bit. It hasn't had that much press attention. This is going to change the way that we travel around the world in the coming year. And Rolls-Royce are at the absolute forefront of this development. The second thing is nuclear. At the end of last year, Rolls-Royce were backed by a consortium of private investors and the UK government to develop small nuclear reactors. And when most people think of nuclear power, immediately their mind goes to this. And that's actually been a bit of a hindrance to the development with nuclear, because we're so far away from that nowadays. Protocols, legislation, regulation that are in place in order to be able to operate these things, it's as safe as anything. So what Rolls-Royce have actually managed to do here is develop a lot of nuclear reactors that are much smaller, about 1/10 of the size of what you envisage to be a standard nuclear reactor. It's about the size of 2 football pitches. And each one of these reactors can power 1 million homes. They're less expensive, they're more efficient, they have a much better carbon footprint, so they're more environmentally friendly. And this initiative alone is looking at potentially generating 40,000 jobs within the UK over the next 20 years. Now, there will be a lot of regulation that needs to be ticked off before they get this fully signed off. and a lot of legislation is going to need to be in place. It will take some time. But when they do get it, they're going to be looking at building 16 reactors across the UK. And when this news breaks, I am pretty certain that the share price is absolutely going to fly. And the third thing that's got me more excited than anything before, and it's my favorite subject, space. Rolls-Royce have recently signed a contract with the UK Space Agency for a study into nuclear power options for space exploration. For anyone that's watched anything that I've ever done before will know that I see space as being one of the most exciting opportunities for the next generation, and also being one of the most profitable. Now, this is an extremely long play, and we might not see any revenue generation here for a number of years. In fact, this is going to cost a lot of money in R&D development, but the potential that this can open up is phenomenal. Now, there are so many applications and capability that exists within the business already that makes this such a fantastic opportunity, and I think that Rolls-Royce are going to be in the driving seat for taking advantage of this. This is not just their experience with flight, it's their experience with nuclear, it's their experience with R&D innovation in its essence and their engineering capability alone. They're at the forefront of this innovation. There's not many businesses that are as capable as Rolls-Royce at this sort of stuff. I feel like they've got a good management team behind them. I feel like they've got a good strategic plan. I feel like that they did the right thing in terms of selling off the different arms of the business, in terms of releasing some of the staff that were costing. They've perhaps prioritized a little bit better into the areas that they want to be focused on going forward. I'm going to hold this business all my life as far as nothing happens that scares me. And at the moment, I want to be trying to drip in as much as I can whilst it's part of my speculative fund. Now, don't forget, this is a speculative business. I'm some idiot on the internet that doesn't know anything. Please do your own research. This is just my opinion. This is just my view of what this business might potentially do over the coming years. And if you like space stocks, might I suggest you take a look at this update I did on Virgin Galactic.